Want to attract and convert more leads? Want to learn how digital PR, branding, and SEO can establish and build your brand identity? Welcome to the Market Movers Building Brands and Links with Linkify podcast. We answer these questions and help you ramp up your brand visibility and credibility. Let's cut through the noise and make your business the talk of the town. We're your hosts, Nick and Chris. Let's get this show on the road.
Welcome to today's episode of the Market Movers podcast. As of this morning, a Google search for the term best marketers in the world produces an image pack with a picture of Neil Patel top left. He's also presented for the same query in ChatGPT and Perplexity, alongside people like Gary Vee, Seth Godin, Tim Ferriss. Neil Patel is a man who perhaps needs little by way of an introduction, as he has become the ambassador for online digital marketing and a testament to the powers of multi-channel PR and continual output of supremely high-quality content. Aside from his ludicrously impressive accolades, for many people new to the digital marketing space, their first foray into the world of Neil Patel is often as the guy that's sitting at the top of the screen on the SEO tool Ubersuggest set against the bright orange background. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Neil Patel.
Thanks for having me.
Neil, it's awesome to have you on. I think everyone in our audience is very familiar with you, so we won't have you give too much about your background, but I am curious, how did you get your start in SEO and marketing?
Sure, it was really simple. Started my first website when I was 16, tried to get traffic to it, paid a marketing firm with whatever little money I had from working 9 to 5 at a theme park. Didn't pay the marketing firm a lot of money because I didn't have a ton of money, and I got little to no results. Also had little to none of a budget. But after I got no results, I really had little to no money, and I had to learn it on my own, and I got pretty decent at it. So just started doing my own SEO and getting my own rankings and traffic. I was addicted to it, loved it, and never made that business work. But I was decent enough at the SEO side where I'm like, maybe I should just continually do this. So that's what I started doing.
Nice. And it's been somewhat of a turmoil in SEO and Google in recent months. I'm wondering if you could give us your view on the current sort of landscape, lay of the land in terms of like AI overviews, where you think we are, where you think we're heading, that sort of thing.
Where we are, we haven't really seen much of a decrease in traffic, and we have a lot of data and analytics, that we're tracking throughout the world. Although, you're talking about a US thing, maybe they're slowly rolling out to other countries now, depending on when this airs. And when we look at what they're doing with AI reviews, it's just other versions of, like them doing knowledge graphs and panels and showcasing images, in certain areas. Like if you type in the best marketers or podcasters, or if you ask them what the weather is, they show you what the weather is. This is just another variation of that. That's the simplest way to put it. Sure, it's giving you an answer to a query that you typed in, but it's just another way of them showing you, like if you ask them what's 2 + 2, they just give you the answer, right? And they're going to do this for a lot of queries, is my assumption, over time as they improve it and improve the quality.
So as they expand that, because right now it's really not much. It's not much more than the featured snippet, as far as the impact to the SERPs. But as they expand it, how much of the SERPs do you think that takes up? And what kind of industries do you think will be really impacted? Do you think it has the potential to take a lot of the clicks?
Let's just go back. When they first rolled it out, it was to much more than 15%, right? The last Bright Edge report I saw, I think it was at 15%, and even more recently it was less than that. Now, when you look at it, when they first rolled it out, it was a substantial amount of queries. And in the first week, we did analysis pre-rollout, post-rollout. We saw a slight drop in impressions to our client websites. We saw a slight increase in clicks. So overall, they were actually getting more traffic to their sites. We weren't really seeing a full negative effect or anything crazy like that. But here's the catch. The quality of the AI overviews weren't that great. What happens when the quality is great? I don't know. Will it impact clicks? Yes. Would it feature snippets? Yes. If you ask it a specific question and like 2 + 2 and it shows you the answer, did math websites lose traffic? Yes. What industries? I think it'll eventually be the majority of industries, but I don't think it's a big deal. And the reason I say that is just like how Google released feature snippets, if you go back 10 years, people in theory are getting more traffic from SEO than they did before. And that's according to Danny Sullivan, who's the search liaison at Google. And he said each year that Google's been around, we've driven more organic clicks than the previous year. Now, will your website be the one that gets extra organic clicks? That's yet to be seen, but someone's getting them.
Yeah, there has to be 10 spots on page one. Google also said that, yeah, it's going to, from its internal data, has said that it's sending more traffic from the AI overview results. But they've also said that they're going to keep that data aggregated in Search Console. So there's no way to do any analysis to determine whether or not you're getting more clicks from AI overviews or whatnot. How do you think people can optimize with their content in order to be in the AI overviews? And do you think it's going to be a hindrance not to have access to that data?
It would be great to have access to that data, but we don't have access to a lot of data in marketing, and we still seem to do somewhat well. The way I look at it as, yes, when we saw increasing clicks, it could have been where people are getting clicks because of the AI overview listings and them being mentioned there. But I think people are overthinking change instead of just doing what's best for their business and site and optimizing for users and not worrying about stuff you can't control.
I like this. This is a calming atmosphere, I think.
Neil, I saw you post something recently about characteristics the sites had that who have survived and thrived the last couple Google updates. And I wanted to ask about that. What are some of the things you've seen, across the sites that have survived or thrived from the last updates?
Yeah, so I don't have the tweet in front of me, but I posted it on X, and I think some of them were increased growth in backlinks. So they're getting more and more backlinks, updating content. They don't have stale content. Focusing on specific verticals. I'm pretty sure that is part of it. Or maybe that was another tweet in which they're not talking about 50 different things like about.com used to be on everything. They whittled down into niche websites and they started doing better, or verticalized websites, and they started doing better. But there was a few more in there. I just don't recall what they all were from the study.
One was EAT. So I wanted to specifically ask about that because that's some people they focus a lot on EAT and other people call it bullshit. So how do you think about EAT? How do you demonstrate that on a site in content? And is it really important?
I don't know if Google really knows if there's E or not, but I think a user does. Like when you read something, you can tell if it's crap because it's AI written versus if it's written by an expert and it's really interesting and you're engaged and you're going to read the rest. And I think those signals help them understand what's good content versus crap content. And my theory is if they keep seeing author bio by, Chris or Nick or Neil, and they're like, all right, these three people, they're really writing great content. Their user metrics are amazing on all these pages throughout the web, yada, yada, yada. Then there's like, okay, maybe this person has good tons of social profiles, a lot of followers, good engagement on Instagram and Facebook. I think they fake it. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Google was in a lawsuit and they pretty much said, one of the guys that was in court was pretty much saying, we don't truly understand documents, we fake it. And I think it's a similar thing.
You mentioned backlinks being a prevalent factor. Is this the chicken or the egg then with authority sites that seem to be taking all the rankings now? Are these sites, they're so big that they're attracting the links, that's why they're at the top, or can you still build links in order to get higher up?
No, you can build links and still beat them. A lot of the sites have backlinks are important, but we've seen in many cases someone has 10 times more backlinks and you can outrank them. It's a very important factor, but it's a very important factor with many others. And a lot of the sites that have more backlinks than you, they're on everything, but a lot of times they don't update their content. It's not that great. It needs to be adjusted. Maybe the site once was great, like about.com, and then it turned into crap. And they know this and they adjust the rankings accordingly. And just because you built a ton of backlinks back in the day doesn't mean your site's still as good today. I think they're looking at a lot of things like velocity. Are you still growing links at a very rapid pace, or is it pretty much dead and no one cares to link to you anymore because your stuff just sucks?
When you talk about link building, what strategies do you focus on? I feel like most people, 90% of their backlinks are coming from guest post, niche edits, and whether they're doing them themselves or they're paying an agency, they end up being paid links. So how do you think about link building? And would you ever recommend paid links, or is that a strategy to stay away from?
I recommend that you don't do paid links, so you avoid them. I think a better approach is just release stuff that people want to link to. So we found that it's easier to get links by releasing free tools than it is to do guest posts or any of that kind of stuff. It's much more effective, or even creating content. Free tools just generate way more links. And even if you do create content, like we'll do tons of manual outreach to get links, it still works. The reason people feel it doesn't work is because that content that they created is crap. And what I mean by that, they're like, oh, look at this masterpiece. Yeah, it looks great when you read it, but there's another 500 articles that say the same stuff and just regurgitated information. So why should someone link to it? Even though it's great, it's just regurgitated. You got to create something that's amazing and new that people haven't seen or read before to really get the backlinks. But I still think it's easier to just release free tools.
Yeah, I remember seeing one of your videos a while ago about how Uber Suggest was one of the biggest like link magnets that you'd ever embarked upon. So obviously Uber Suggest is a fantastic tool, and it's earned you a lot of links. How would people with smaller budgets enter that tool game, do you think?
Yeah, same way. You can go use ChatGPT to help you build a tool, or you can just go to sites like Code Canyon and buy a tool and white label it and put it on your website.
And then how are you sort of stimulating that link? You've just got to go out and market that tool as you would a piece of content.
Market a little bit, paid ads, reach out to people, let them know you got a free tool, and over time, it just creates a snowball effect.
Love that. Recently, you said something I thought was really interesting. Search everywhere optimization instead of search engine optimization. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, people look at SEO as just Google. Yeah, and then maybe Bing. But what about the people who have vacation rentals and are optimizing for Airbnb? What about the businesses, and this is even more broad, that are just like, everyone's using ChatGPT. They get billions of visitors a month. How do we get ChatGPT to recommend our product and service? Why not optimize for ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the other AI platforms, right? Search is everywhere. We just think of it as Google. But TikTok and Instagram are really popular. How many people create content that you try to optimize when someone types in dog food, their TikTok video shows up? Not that many people. I don't know why. They're already creating the content. Might as well optimize for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, because I see your content everywhere, so you're obviously repurposing multi-platform. Are you then like individually optimizing for each individual platform for that repurposed piece of content?
Not always, but sometimes yes. It depends on what the content is and, what we think the ROI potential could be, how relevant it is to our business. Do we think it's content that's going to drive revenue, etc.?
So do you think for smaller brands then, they should still be trying to find a way to optimizing everywhere, or would you suggest to focus on one or two sort of platforms first and branch out as they can?
You need to optimize for all major platforms, but you need to start with one and then eventually add in another one, then eventually add in a few more, and then eventually you'll get to all the major platforms.
So just go slow, work with your resources.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think search is going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years? We're seeing, some searches now beginning on TikTok or Perplexity. Do you think we see search more at the beginning of the search move to platforms like that?
I think you're going to have people starting to use more of those platforms, but I think it's going to be more like social media. So search is already evolving because they're using technology to try to give you the answer, or AI, or like if you can even search for something saying, can you just do this for me? And it just does it for you instead of just searching for information. You're looking for answer. And I think search will adapt to, in many cases, helping you solve your problem, right? Like you can search, you can type in eventually into Google something like, I'm trying to build this software. I'm getting stuck. Here's my code. What's wrong? And instead of going through articles online to see if anyone has experienced this, they'll be like, this is what's wrong with your code, and here's a solution. Try it out. And they'll just give you the clean code. But when I look at search, it's just going to be everywhere, and it's going to be like social media. TikTok did not kill Instagram. Instagram did not kill Facebook. Snapchat didn't kill any of these platforms either, nor did X. You just use many platforms. I think the same thing is going to happen with search.
Yeah, and for me personally as well, you sort of find your feet in like whichever platform is giving you what you need for that particular search. Like for me, I just started this 75 hard thing. I don't know if you've heard about it. And I needed to know like certain foods, if it's on a clean diet, or certain questions that I've got Perplexity app, straight answer. Then I'm also involved in buying a house currently, and I've needed some like local legal services, whatnot, and I'm straight to Google. I'm not searching for that stuff on Perplexity. So I think people just will find their way depending on what they're searching for. Yeah.
Bingo. I think you got it right.
Well, let's talk about Google specifically then. We're already seeing, I think, search move Google has kind of killed out, a lot of the affiliate sites. They've been really hard on some industries, but as search changes, what industries do you think lose more of their Google search as it moves to other platforms?
I think some of the sites that are focused on like answers, like Q&A sites, I think people will just start moving to some of the other platforms for it, and even Google will just start answering and pulling from these platforms. Google image search is really popular. I think it'll still be popular, but people will also start using some of these other platforms to just create the image they're looking for versus just searching for it. Like, hey, this is what I want. Just go create it for me, right? Because a lot of people are searching for images for something specific that they want. I also think Google will also turn into more of a discovery platform, kind of like TikTok and Instagram. How, I don't know, but they're incorporating a lot of these short form videos, which is what people are consuming, every day of the minute. And I think they're going to adapt more and more than just listing them within their search results. Podcasts, they've already integrated them in search, but I think it's going to be much more in the future.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Google Discover as well is a treasure trove for traffic if you can crack that nut. And it's a really great, I love waking up and just seeing what's been happening on Discover. As Nick mentioned earlier, certain industries seem to have been like battered. Smaller publishers, obviously some affiliate sites that are reviewing products they've never used and they're just regurgitating Amazon reviews. You can understand why Google wants to remove that bloat from their index. But there have been some or many instances of, proper publishers, travelers who have been to all the countries and whatnot. Google recently invited someone, I think, to the HQ to talk about the upcoming pending Google update. Do you think we'll see a reversal for some of these higher quality, smaller independent publishers, or?
I do, if not in the next update, eventually over time, because it went too extreme. But that's why Google keeps making algorithm changes. It's not like one algorithm change is perfect. So they find a balance and they keep adjusting and tweaking. But when they knocked out a lot of the affiliate sites, they knocked out really good informational sites that were providing value. Like if you're looking to travel to a place and look for restaurants, hotels, the best places to see. And it kind of sucks. My sister was going to Italy, and a lot of the sites that were providing the amazing content, they had some affiliate links. They weren't there. And then she's like, man, this sucks. So then she had to search deeper to find what she was looking for. She eventually did, but just took more effort.
Yeah, there are a few spaces where I think they just went too far and they destroyed a lot of great sites. All right, let's shift gears and talk about AI. So I think there are kind of two schools of thought when it comes to AI. There are people who think that AI will eventually replace most jobs. And then there are other people who think that it's not going to replace jobs. It's actually going to create a bunch of new jobs. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah. There was a report, I forgot by who, but in the marketing industry, it said people are going to lose jobs from AI, but the new jobs that are going to be created from AI outnumber the jobs that are going to be lost. And time will end up telling. I think this is just people doing the reports and estimating, but time will really end up telling. And in a lot of other industries, I think jobs will be lost. And in some other industries, jobs will be gained. What is the overall effect? I don't know. All you can do is just embrace technology that you know is the future versus running away from it. Because if you run away from it, you're probably going to be the one that gets cut.
Yeah, well, that brings me neatly on to my next question, which is, as a world-leading marketeer, it is paramount for you to stay ahead of the game and on top of the ball. So how are you keeping up with these rapid changes? I imagine you have a fantastic team around you, but I also imagine there's something that you're personally interested in. How do you, and therefore, how do other people stay on top of all these advancements in AI and everything else that's happening?
You read and you experiment. I think those two things are important, the latter being more important. If you're not using these platforms in testing, you're only going to get so far reading and learning.
It's a lot, though. I feel like every day I see 5 new tools that I'm like, ooh, I need to try that out.
Yeah, but here's the key. You don't need to use most of the tools. If enough people start talking about it, then start using them. But stick with the main ones like GPT and Gemini. You could also use Perplexity, but you don't need to use 20 different tools out there. Look at the Jaspers of the world. Oh, this is really good. Great content. Oh, I can just do this in GPT for free, right? And people now use ChatGPT to create content versus Jasper. Welcome to that billion-dollar valuation. Probably not doing as well. I'm not trying to talk trash. It sucks for them. My company doesn't have $1 billion valuation for my ad agency. They did. Good for them. But the point I'm getting at is like, if something's really amazing, these platforms are just going to be creating itself. And a great example of this is I was talking to a company that does creative testing. So they're using AI to figure out which creatives for your ads are going to perform the best. Do you honestly think Google, who generates over $200 billion a year in ad revenue, and Facebook, who's over $100 billion a year, isn't just going to create a better version of that in their own platform and, just make it easier for you to A/B test so you can maximize your ROI? Like, let's really think long term, right? So do you really need to use this other tool that's out there in the short run when you can just wait for Google and Facebook? Sure, in the short run, if you want to, if you have a big team, go for it. If not, don't worry about it. Google and Facebook will create a better version of it. Just like, oh, content's a big use case for these tools. These people are using the APIs from OpenAI. Eventually, they're just going to be like, hey, just do it on our platform for free.
I was going to say, what interesting tools, technologies are you currently excited by the most?
I love Firefly. We've named the 3 main platforms that we talked about earlier that everyone already uses. Hey Gen is another one that I really love because it just takes a video of me and transcribes it into a lot of different countries and languages. But I'm really in love with that one tool.
Hey Gen.
HEYGEN, I believe. .com or .a. It's one of them, but I know my team does it for me. I haven't logged into it or used it. I'll actually use it once. My team does it for me, but we take my content and we transcribe it and dub it in all the other languages that we want to experiment with. And it is me and it sounds well and it sounds kind of like me or close enough to me. I don't know what I would sound in some of these languages because I don't actually speak the language, but we like it.
Have you made a Neil Patel anthem yet in Suno, the AI song creation tool? That's a lot of fun.
So I've heard really great things about these translation, and I think that's a huge use case for AI right now. I'm kind of with you where I don't know if it sounds authentic because I don't speak the other language, but from people who do speak it, they say it's actually quite good. So I'm kind of curious, what languages are you guys seeing like good traction with from doing this?
Traction, we're not seeing great results yet. We've tried it in many languages from Portuguese to Hindi to German, and the list goes on and on. Traction, not great. It's starting to get better, but we haven't cracked the nut on translating and transcribing it and it just instantly being a hit. We're experimenting with a lot of brands, corporate and personal, so videos from both ends. We're also experimenting with, do you need to spend a little bit of money on marketing to kickstart or pay some influencers or, pay someone for email promotion? So we're experimenting a lot of stuff to figure out how to crack it and do well. But right now it's almost like starting from scratch. It's just you don't have to create the content.
And how are you only translating video content, or are you doing like blog posts as well?
Blog posts, but we do blog posts with a combo of AI and humans. Videos we do only with AI.
Okay. And then are you setting up new like accounts, or are you doing it all from the main channel account?
We've tried both.
Okay. And you're seeing what's going to work best.
Yeah. And then when it comes to text-based, we've been doing that way before, all these AI tools even came out, and that's been working well for us.
Okay. So we have, I think, like content creation, translation, videos that have, like, really, AI has had a really strong impact. What other areas of marketing do you think AI will have a major impact coming up in the next couple of years?
The biggest one is creative. I don't know how it's going to affect the whole creative industry. It makes it easier, cheaper, more scalable. Data analytics is another one, although Google's going to keep cookies. But people have their data everywhere, and they're not making decisions in real time when they should. And AI can help slice and dice the data way faster.
Okay. Any final predictions that you would, or words of wisdom that you would give to would-be marketers watching this?
Yes. Stop thinking about all the technology changes, all the platform changes, all the algorithm changes. Focus on the fundamentals, create the systems and processes. A lot of the boring and ugly stuff is what produces the results. Not what people want to hear, but it's true. We look at a lot of data from a lot of large corporations, mid-size and small, and it's usually the basic fundamental ugly stuff that's producing the results that isn't being showcased for the best Super Bowl commercial or best creative campaign, but it's the boring ugly stuff that's generating the revenue.
I think that's strangely calming for a lot of people who are worried about like the speed of advancements. Like some of the fundamentals are what you really need to be focused on.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Neil, in the last couple of minutes that we've got, I wanted to just ask you a personal question. I've been feeling quite proud in the past 2 months, through no choice of my own, becoming a member of the 5 a.m. club because of my wife's new job. I read recently that you were a member of the 4 a.m. club. I just wanted to know how you do that, how long you've been doing it, and if it's something, if you think I should join this 4 a.m. club or I can stay where I am in the 5 a.m. club.
I think the 5 a.m. club is fine. The 4 a.m. club I've been doing for many, many years, and I just naturally do it. I don't like set an alarm or anything. You have to keep in mind I travel a lot. So like long time ago, came back to the States, jet lag, kept waking up at around 3, 4 a.m. It was actually 2 a.m., but eventually it dragged out to 4 a.m. And I was getting way more done, and I was like, oh, cool. So I just stuck with it.
So what time do you go to bed?
Early. 8, 9, 10 at the latest, but usually 8 or 9.
Okay. The early mornings are the best time of the day, I find.
I'm in the 6 a.m. club, but I live in Portugal, and that's pretty much like the 4 a.m. club in Portugal.
Yeah, you're good to go.
All right, Neil, well, thanks for coming on. It's been great chatting with you. Where should we send people to learn more about you?
NeilPatel.com is my website. On my social profiles of Neil Patel, and my ad agency is NP Digital.
All right, thanks a lot, Neil.
Thanks, Neil.
And that wraps up this episode of Market Movers, Building Brands and Links with Linkify. Big thanks to our parent company, Linkifi, the wizards behind turning ambitious businesses into standout brands. Hit up our website at linkify.io and take the first steps towards brand greatness. Big shout out to Fame for making this podcast possible. Thanks for listening, folks. Stick around for more insights in our next episode. Catch you later.